Hello and good evening.
Hello, my name's not Susan Kenny, and it's not my son Pat's come to join the course.
Sure.
Um,
Welcome.
and I'm sorry I haven't got his name because it's on Sue's laptop, obviously.
No problems at all. You're very welcome.
I have to organise how to do that. I'll put you, he can sit out here with
Sure.
you. I'll put him out here.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Social Skills Australia Masterclass. I'm Christine. And I'm just going to keep an eye out for people joining us as well. So I might be a little distracted at first as we're letting people in. So welcome. Thank you for spending an hour of your Tuesday evening with me. So tonight we're going to be looking at 5 steps to mastering engaging conversations, how to start, enter and maintain conversations with people you don't know well. So I'm hoping everyone gets something out of it. First of all, a bit of introduction. So, yep, I am Christine O'Leary. I am the founder of Social Skills Australia. A little bit about me. I am a communications specialist. So I have worked in this field for, it says 28 years, but I think it's more than that now. I worked in the not-for-profit education, parent support and disability sectors. I am university trained. I have postgraduate qualifications in communications. And I actually taught at 3 Australian universities, the Sunshine Coast Uni, where I live now, QUT in Brisbane and Charles Darwin University in the Northern Territory. And I'm a certified peers provider. So I did my training to do peers for the University of California, and I'm a certified provider here in Australia. I'm also a mum of adolescents that have autism and are neurodiverse myself. So both of my boys meet that criteria. So I certainly have some lived experience in a family with neurodiversity as well. A little bit about my business. So I started my business in 2022, and what I do is help teens and adults who have social challenges to learn social skills so they can engage socially, make friends, gain confidence and self-esteem. That's what we're aiming for here. If you've heard of Sue Larkey, she's a very well-known author in this space of neurodiversity and children and teenagers. And she travels around Australia running workshops and things like that. And I was actually interviewed on her podcast last year. If you want to check that out, suelarkey.com.au, and that was the episode there, episode 193. You'll find it on her website. There's more about me on that podcast there. And how I came into this work was that my own son came to me a few years ago when he was 13, and he said, "Mum, I need help with social skills." So he said he felt awkward. He didn't know what to say in certain situations. He'd really only had one friend right through school since he was quite little. And making new friends was proving difficult for him. He'd just started high school. Oh, there's some people I need to admit here. So he just started high school and he was finding the whole social arena very different in the high school years than he found in primary school. So that was when it became a bit more obvious to him they needed some help in this area.
No, it should be.
So I tried, I'll just mute everybody. I tried a lot of things when he came to me wanting help with social skills. I looked at what our school could offer. We were to psychologists and speech therapists and that kind of thing. And he'd done a bit of that over the years, but there was nothing that quite, as a teenager, that really met what he was looking for. Until I found this. So I did the thing that perhaps some of you mums on the call will identify with. I did the online research that us mums do. We will find what we need to find. And I found this amazing course out of UCLA in America, designed specifically for teenagers like my son, who really needed some help in social skills. So he and I did the course. He did it as the participant and I did it as the parent coach. And we did that course online. And it literally changed his life and ended up changing my life as well. So today he's made a whole lot of new friends. He started playing team sports, and that's all those yellow T-shirts there. He actually started a futsal team. He'd never really played team sports before. Futsal's indoor soccer. Had a full turnout at his birthday parties. He started emceeing at school events. He's, just got a lot more confident at trying a lot of new things. He got a little part-time job. His life just turned around really quickly. And the teachers at school were saying to me how confident he was. It was amazing. And then in his school reports looked a bit like this, he's, doing really well. But the standout thing in his school reports was things like, more people I need to admit, his social skills have grown exponentially. So the teachers were noticing it, we were noticing it at home, and I just fell in love with this program at that point. So I did the training at UCLA, and now I'm a certified peers provider. And I am listed on the UCLA website if you want to sort of check it out. I'm on there under the Australia Queensland section as the certified provider here in Queensland. So it's my promise to you today. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you the 5 steps to mastering engaging conversations, things you can start using with your adolescent or young adult straight away. I'm going to demonstrate why social skills training is so important for your adolescent or young person. And I'm going to give you a base understanding of how social skills training works, because it's not always perhaps what people expect. I do have time for questions at the end. So rather than sort of stop and start, I'm just going to be on a bit of a flow, and we will have questions at the end. So if you think of something, jot it down, and we will come to it. So what I ask in return is just listen carefully, take notes if you need to, that's fine. Keep an open mind. Often what we teach in peers can be quite different than what you might have heard elsewhere. And I do ask you to stay until the end. I will have some time for questions, and there is a free bonus at the end as well. That's my son there in his orange t-shirt, one of my sons. So you're in the right place if you're worried that your young person doesn't have friends or seems to struggle to keep friends. You're in the right place if your young person sometimes doesn't know what to say in social situations, or they might be missing out on invitations to parties or get-togethers. You're in the right place if your young person is online or gaming too much, if they're depressed or perhaps they're getting bullied at school, and if your young person is ready to learn new skills. They're ready to actually learn some new things and put some new things into place. And you're in the right place if you're curious about how social skills training works, and if you're willing to participate to help your adolescent or young adult as their social coach. The parents are very much involved in our peers programs. You're in the wrong place if you don't think social skills are really that important. And some people don't. Some people think it doesn't really matter. Or if your young person's not really interested in learning new skills or already have plenty of friends, perhaps you're not in the right place. And you're in the wrong place if you want them to have new friends, but you don't really have time to help them as their social coach. Before we go any further, I just want to touch on something very passionate for me, and that's about masking. And I do get asked about this, which is a fair enough question. I'll totally ask this as well. So our peers programs are most definitely not about masking. So autistic masking, if people haven't heard of the phrase before, it's about hiding or suppressing autistic traits to try and fit in. It's very dangerous, it's very damaging, and it puts people with autism at risk of low self-esteem, identity confusion. You're always trying to pretend to be someone that you're not, and autistic burnout. It's definitely not something we want our peers participants doing. It can undermine the acceptance and celebration of neurodiversity and our autistic culture if we're always trying to suppress it and pretend we're something we're not. Masking isn't always a conscious choice either. Sometimes it's a bit of a learned response to stigma. That can come from things like label avoidance. Some people like, we don't want to know what it is, we don't want to get diagnosed, and that can be fine. But that's when masking can come about, where people can't embrace their neurodiversity and really be who they are. So masking prevents people from getting the support they need. It's very hard to ask for accommodations at school or at work if you can't say what's happening for you. It can increase the risk of socialisation, and it can interfere with the development of really authentic relationships, masking, because you're always trying to just be someone that you're not. So with our peers participants, they're really encouraged to know themselves. We do a lot of introspection. What do you like? What are you passionate about? How do you like to communicate? So we want to be true to ourselves while also learning social norms, social etiquette, and social cues that everyone else is using out there. An analogy I like to use is to say, if we were going to learn French, we can learn French. Doesn't mean we have to be French, doesn't mean we have to take on, a French persona, but it's going to help us talk to French people. So we can still be ourselves, but when we understand the social norms that are just already in place out there, it's going to help us communicate with other people. We don't have to change who we are. It's not about trying to make anyone more neurotypical. It's just understanding the social rules that no one's perhaps ever told you before. Once we know those rules, our peers, participants are encouraged to make an informed choice. We can choose to play by them or not. We don't have to, but once we know what they are, we can make an informed choice. Without knowing those rules, though, often our teens and young adults experience rejection and isolation, and often they don't know why. So often when teenagers come to me, they're a bit baffled. They're like, I don't know, the kids at school just stopped being friends with me. I don't know, my friendship groups rejected me. And they're often really baffled. Once we explain them what's going on, it can be quite empowering. So we don't want to hide our disabilities, which is painful and destructive. So in our peers programs, we don't focus on anyone's disability. And in the 16 weeks I'm teaching peers, I don't think I say the word autism or ADHD or social anxiety or anything like that. We're just teaching us what we know works out there. Sometimes the teens themselves might say, oh, I think I do that because I've got autism. And then other teens might say, oh, I've got autism. Oh, I do too. And that's often like 3/4 of the way through the program, they all kind of hear each other going, oh, I've got autism too. And they realise, oh, I'm in a group of people that have that. It's not something we talk about otherwise. It's not something we focus on. We don't hide it, but we don't focus on it either. We're just learning some new skills. It's as simple as that. Everyone's got strengths and weaknesses, and we're just all learning something new. So, yeah. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
I'll just get questions to the end, Rami, if that's okay.
Okay.
Just make a note. Yeah, otherwise we'll get a bit bogged down. I've got time for questions at the end. Yeah. So, yeah, it's at the discretion of each individual. If they want to choose to disclose their diagnosis during peers, they can certainly do that if they want to. All we are doing, we're just a group of people starting at the start of a 16-week program, learning new skills together, and we all graduate together. And then they can use those skills if and when they choose to. So it is very empowering, and we do encourage everyone to embrace their identity and help find supportive and accepting communities to be a part of. So certainly we do a part of that in peers, or let's find some groups that are going to be accepting and like what you like and have peers of a similar age. So we're definitely encouraged to do that. So yeah, we're learning social etiquette. This is the sort of thing that everyone else just takes for granted. But what we know is that our peers participants need to learn it explicitly. Then they can much better at being their authentic self, and they're much able to better advocate for themselves as well. So yeah, they can choose to mask or unmask in our program or outside of the program. And they're empowered to respect themselves and find a balance that works for them. Another note is I only enrol individuals who are personally motivated to learn these new skills. So this isn't forced on anyone. And in fact, part of the enrolment process is an interview screening that I do with the young person directly. So I always say the parents often want their kids to do this program, but I will only enrol an individual if they tell me they want to do this program. So no one's forced into anything. Okay, we're going to learn today. We're going to look at the biggest myth and the actual truth around social skills training. We'll look at those 5 steps to mastering engaging conversations. And then we're going to look at the 3 essentials, keys for successful social skills training. So I will mention this. You don't need to write all of this down. I'm going to be going through a ton of information in the next 45 minutes, but there's an action guide coming to you on your email. So check your email. It's coming, I think, at the end of this hour. It's scheduled to come to you. So there's an action guide coming, so don't feel like you need to write everything down. Okay, what I want to ask you guys, can you just drop in the chat either an A or a B? Are you looking to help your adolescent or young adult to make and keep friends? Are you more looking to help them find a romantic partner? If you could drop that in the chat and I'll have a look in a minute, just to get a good feel for who we have in the room here. Are we looking mainly for friends or mainly for romantic partners? Good to know. I'll move on and I'll check that later. So here's the myth. They're fine. They'll work it out eventually. Everybody does. They don't need any specific training, okay? The truth is that research shows that left untreated, many adults with ASD will lack the community connections and friendships everyone else takes for granted. So we know if we don't learn these skills explicitly, If you haven't learnt them by 13 or 15 or 23, you're not automatically going to get it by 33, 53 or 63. The research tells us that. So teaching these skills is necessary to make and keep friends has a lifelong impact. So we don't just get it by osmosis. This is what the research tells us. Typically developing teens, so neurotypical teens, learn the rules of social etiquette by observing their peers, interacting with peers and realising, oh, that didn't work for that person, noted, I won't do that, and direct instruction from parents. For adolescents with autism and ADHD and other neurodiversity, they require explicit instruction. They just won't pick it up naturally from noticing what their peers are doing. They need very clear instruction, and the research tells us that. So learning to make and keep friends is quite difficult for adolescents and young adults with autism for a number of reasons. One is that positive and sustained interaction with peers is required, and they often don't have that. There's often a bit of isolation, and they make those deficits more pronounced. We also know that the social deficits around autism, and we probably know a lot of this, so poor social communication. Often we have trouble initiating topics. We don't know what to say. There's often use of repetitive themes. So our young people will find something that they love talking about, and then they'll always talk about that favourite topic over and over and over. Often the conversations are quite one-sided. So they're talking, the other person can't get a word in. There's also often poor difficulty understanding social cues. So we spend a lot of time in peers of reading social cues. And what I always say in peers is body language never lies. When you know what to look for, us humans are complex. We often say one thing and mean something else, but body language doesn't lie. If someone's rolling their eyes or looking at their watch or pulling a face, they don't want to be talking to you. If they're smiling and nodding and looking at you, that's a good sign. What they say isn't always, accurate. We know our teens and young adults with autism often lack social motivation. So they stop trying to participate in social activities and have those lack of peer entry attempts. So just stop attempting it. And poor social cognition. So understanding someone else's perspective can be quite difficult. We do a lot of perspective taking questions in our peers program. So we'll watch a role play video and then we'll ask, what was it like for that person? What was it like for that person? Are they going to want to speak to them again? And we do a lot of putting ourselves in someone else's shoes. That can be quite difficult otherwise. And the consequences of poor friendship quality, a limited peer network, and less social engagement. Peer conflict can also be quite high with our teens and young adults. And those arguments often result in the friendship being terminated. So friendships are often terminated over quite small things that we can navigate, which is why we actually teach that in peers as well, how to navigate conflict. So there's often a lot of peer rejection, which results in teasing and bullying and having a bad reputation. And those consequences can be quite severe. Loneliness, depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, poor academic performance, delinquency, substance abuse, and even suicide ideation. So peer rejection is not something we want our teens to have, and it can have lifelong impacts. So most social skills training programs we know through research are quite ineffective. There's very few for adolescents or young adults. Most of the interventions are for younger children. They usually don't assess treatment outcome over time, and we certainly do that in peers. They don't use an evidence-based curricula, and we'll be talking about that again in a moment, of what we do in peers. Everything's evidence-based, so it's very heavily researched. We know it works. There's no guesswork here. And often other programs don't actually teach to the cognitive style of the way that people with autism learn. So we teach with concrete behaviour and skills. It's black and white steps to follow. And we know that's how people with autism learn best. Most programs don't teach what we call ecologically valid skills. So that means what the socially savvy people are doing. It's not just out of a textbook. We know this is what the socially successful people are actually doing. They often don't include homework assignments. In other words, putting it into practice. They don't generalise to other settings. So we actually teach specific skills in peers, and then we're shown how to put that into practice in real life. There's phone calls between participants. Then people are encouraged to join groups and come back and tell us how it went. And other programs don't include parents in the treatment. And that's actually a key part of why peers are so successful. So PEER stands for the Program for the Education and Enrichment of Relational Skills, a mouthful for sure. No wonder we use the acronym. So it's a proven, internationally acclaimed, research-based social skills course, and it was designed specifically for adolescents and young adults with autism, ADHD, and other social challenges. So that's a bit about peers. So these are the 5 steps to mastering engaging conversations. This is going to be a very brief overview of a lesson we cover in peers to give you a bit of a taste. So step 1, we need to know how to smoothly start a conversation. That's key. We need to be able to do that. So what I always say when I'm teaching this is before you even think about talking to someone, we need to be looking at them first. Do they even look like they want to be talking to us? So a good sign, let's just say there's someone in a cafe and we think, oh, I'd like to start a conversation with that person. Are they nodding at us? Are they looking at us? Are they facing us? Are they smiling? Are they making eye contact? Or have they got headphones on? Are they already on a phone call? They're looking down, they're reading a book, they're eating a meal. We need to be looking for those signs before we even attempt for maximum success. Assuming we're seeing some good things, they're making contact with us, they're smiling, looking pretty open in their body language, that's a good sign. To start an individual conversation, these are the steps that we'd look at. So we look over first. Of course, we're looking to see, are they open, are they eating, are they on the phone? We might use a prop. That means we might use something to go over there and talk to them about. We might be looking for a common interest. Okay, so we look around the person. So we're looking for, what can we start a conversation about? So we don't just walk over and say hello. We don't walk over and say, hi, I'm Chris. Or even, hi, Chris, how are you? Because that's actually not a conversation starter. We're looking around the person. So what are they eating? What are they wearing? What are they carrying? What logo is on their t-shirt? What event are you at? What cafe are you in? What can you say? It's a lot easier to say, coffee. Is the coffee good here? I haven't had a coffee here before. Or, you got a surfboard. Is the surf good here? So we're looking for a common interest. If you don't have a common interest to start a conversation about, perhaps that's not the person you could be talking to. And then when we start the conversation, when we make a comment, we ask a question or we give a compliment. That's the way to start that conversation. And then we do what we call trading information. And we're going to talk about that in a moment, how we do that. It means we tell them about us and we ask them about them. And that's how we're trying to find that common interest. All the while we're assessing. All the while, are they looking at us still? Are they still facing me? Are they talking to me? Are they answering my questions? And only then, at the end, you might introduce yourself. So walking up and introducing yourself to a stranger is going to seem pretty strange. And in actual fact, that's often the advice that we give. Just walk up and introduce yourself. Just go up and say hello. In actual real life, we don't do that. We don't walk up to a stranger and say, hi, I'm Chris. They're going to go, okay, why are you talking to me? Whereas if you sort of say, look, you've got the noodles here. The noodles good. I'm not sure what to order. That's a conversation starter. Yeah, the noodles are great. Get the prawn noodles. I really recommend them. I'm here every week. I love them. Great. So often the advice that we are given is really bad advice when it comes to conversation skills. So this is an example of how this might look. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure if I put share audio. So tell me if you can hear this or not when it starts. Nope. Okay, let me go back. I will stop sharing and then I will share again. I remember I didn't click share sound. There it is. Okay. Hopefully it works this time.
Oh my god, I love that song.
Yeah, me too. This is the new video that just came out today.
No way, I'm dying to see that.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen her in concert?
I have. I actually have tickets for her upcoming concert.
No way, the one that's coming up in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be so great.
That's so cool.
Have you ever seen her perform?
No, I wish. I really want to.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing in concert. You need to see her.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm Alina.
I'm Jordan.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. So if we're in a peers session right now, then we'd have a chat about that. And we would have watched a video before that, actually, of how not to do it. And in that video, Alina just walks up and says, can I have your number? And the other girl says, no. And she says, come on, give me your number. And she says, no, I don't even know you. I'm not giving you my number. So yeah, and then we have the lesson, and then we watch this video, and then we have a chat about it. What was it like for that person this time? Yeah, pretty smooth, actually, pretty comfortable. What do you think of Alina? Fine, smooth. Would you want to talk to her again? Yeah. So you can see Alina use that prop. She kind of used the book as a reason to go over, and she didn't just say, hi, I'm Alina. She started a conversation, and it felt smooth when you've got something to talk about. So that's an example of starting a conversation. Okay, so that's how you start a conversation. This is a super fast run through. We obviously spend a lot more time on this in the actual peers program. Okay, step 2. So we know how to start a conversation with an individual. Step 2 is knowing how to enter a conversation. So whenever I run this peers program, often it's the parents that say, this is gold. You know, when you go to a networking event and everyone's talking, or you go to a wedding and everyone seems to know each other, and you turn up and you're like, everyone's already in conversation, and you're there with your drink going, do I just walk up? Do I just stand nearby and hope they notice me? And while you spend so time wondering what to do, you realise I'm still standing leaning against the wall with my drink alone, and everyone else is engaged in conversation. And we don't know how to enter it. This is how you enter it. This is how you enter a group conversation. First, you listen. And some of the teenagers say to me, that's eavesdropping. Yes, it is. We're eavesdropping. Okay, but we're watching from a distance. We're using a prop. So you're looking at your phone, stirring a coffee, a book, whatever you got to do. So it doesn't look like you're eavesdropping. Okay, so we're looking a little bit and we're looking at our phone, but we're actually listening to the topic of conversation. Okay, once we've identified the topic, then we're going to find a common interest. I always give this example of, you know, if you're not a brain surgeon and there's a group of brain surgeons talking about brain surgery, perhaps that's not the conversation you want to be entering, okay? But if there's a group of teenagers talking about the latest iPhone, and actually you're really interested in the latest iPhone and you've been researching it yourself and you know a bit about it, maybe that's a conversation you could enter, okay? So you found a common interest. Then you move a little bit closer. We're looking for body language now. So hopefully they've noticed you're there. They might be gesturing you in. If that group closes circle because one person's upset or something, now is not the time. Again, we're always assessing. But assuming they've opened a circle and someone might be gesturing you in, you join that circle. We still don't talk straight away. Okay, we wait for a pause. That means a break between people talking. And then if we do say something, we go in on the topic being talked about, hence the eavesdropping in the first place. So if they were talking about the iPhone, no matter how much you love Minecraft, we don't go in and start talking about Minecraft, okay? Because that group's talking about the iPhone, and that they're going to look at you and go, why are you talking about Minecraft? So we go in on the topic being talked about. That's the eavesdropping step. And we make a comment. So you can just make a comment, you can ask a question. Oh, wow, that's great. Where'd you get the iPhone? Or give a compliment. I love the color of that iPhone. I didn't know it came in rose gold, okay? Even once you're there and you're talking now and you're part of that group conversation, we listen more than we talk at first, okay? We don't take over because that group was already talking before we came along, okay? Then we're always assessing interest. Okay, are they talking to me? Are they facing me? Are they smiling and nodding? Are they answering my questions? Are they ignoring me? And we also do some steps on exiting on these different scenarios as well. So assuming that's all gone well and you've entered that group conversation, now you can think about introducing yourself. So as you can see in that other video with the one-on-one, maybe you don't even need to, but at the end is when you would introduce yourself. Okay, so it's a lot different to go in on the topic then go in and interrupt and say, hi, I'm Chris. And they were like, okay, we were talking about the iPhone. Why are you here? So that's briefly the steps for entering a group conversation. The next step is maintaining a conversation. So we do a fair bit of work of this in peers. We look at conversation topics. We brainstorm that. There's lots of different things you can talk about. There's a whole lot to this lesson. Well, I'm going to give you a very brief overview. There's some tips. To start with, we ask the other person a question. Okay, we don't normally start a conversation with just a statement. We ask a question because then they can answer it. It might be, what did you do on the weekend? And then we can also answer our own questions. So if they say, I went to the movies, you can ask a follow-up question or you can answer your own question. You can say, Well, what I did on the weekend was I went fishing. Okay. So even if they don't ask you back, you can answer your own question and still keep the whole conversation going. All the while, we're looking for common interests. We spend a lot of work on finding common interests in peers. Because once you've got the thing, oh, I love Minecraft, you love Minecraft, now we've got something to talk about. We're making sure we're sharing the conversation. So I'm just letting people in still. We're sharing the conversation. We're making sure everyone's got a chance to talk. It's not all one way. We ask follow-up questions. So that means if someone says they went to the movies, we don't then say, and what's your favourite colour? We say, what did you see at the movies? And they might say, I saw whatever the latest movie is. And you can say, well, did you like it? So we ask follow-up questions to keep that conversation going on that topic. And we ask open-ended questions as well as closed questions. So open-ended questions are much more likely to keep the conversation going. So that's some tips for maintaining a conversation. Again, this is all in the workbook that's coming out to you on your email today, the action guide. So don't feel like you've got to remember it all. Step 4 is being aware of some social errors that are common in conversations. So here's some common ones. So we want some do's and don'ts. So we do want to make sure we use humour appropriately. Now in peers, we spend one whole week on using humour appropriately because this is what we know. Using humour is a golden way to make friends if you're good at it. We're not all good at humour. And the research tells us some of us think we're a bit better at humour than we are. Even professional comedians aren't funny all the time, okay? So we just spend a whole week on appropriate use of humour because we need to work out, we want to make sure and to know the difference if people are laughing at us or laughing with us. And we do some exercises on that so we can know how to tell. And we look at always monitoring our humour feedback. So if someone's giving us a little courtesy laugh, doesn't mean we're necessarily funny. If dad thought the rude joke at home was funny, doesn't mean the kids at school are going to think so. So we do a whole lot of work on using humour appropriately. But the rule is be a little bit more serious at first. It's much safer to trade information and find out about that person, tell them about you and ask them about them, than using humour straight off the bat. And we spend a whole lot of time on that in peers of why that can go so horribly wrong. There's some pretty interesting videos that we see. Everyone loves those videos. We do want to listen to the other person. So yeah, if they say something interesting, follow that line of inquiry, okay? Wow. If they've told us something, they're going to expect that we're going to remember that. So if they told us we're a vegan and then we say, do you want to go to that steak restaurant for dinner? It shows that we weren't listening. So we want to make sure we're listening. We want to make sure we use good volume control. We spend a bit of time on peers in that. Some of us are quite loud. Some of us are a bit quiet. And neither of those things are conducive to conversation skills. If someone has to keep saying, what? Hey? That gets hard. If someone's super loud, that gets hard as well. We also look at using good body boundaries. And the rule is about an arm's length is what we're aiming for. We don't measure it though. We're not measuring arm's length, just around an arm's length. So some of us are close talkers and some people will try and have a conversation from across the classroom or across the oval. It doesn't work either. We don't want to look at the person. So eye contact is great if you can do it, not easy for all of us, but we at least want to be looking at them, directing our body in their direction. So it looks like we've got our attention on them. Some don'ts. We don't be a conversation hog. And that can be hard if we're talking about something we're passionate about. We can, I'm so excited, let me tell you all about that. But if we notice that we're doing that, we can stop, take a breath and say, anyway, what did you do on the weekend? Ask a question. We don't want to be an interviewer. That means question, 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 question. What's your favourite colour? Oh, what's your favourite movie? Oh, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, so we don't be doing that. And we do that by listening to the answer and asking follow-up questions. And we spend a whole lot of time in all of this in peers. We're practicing, we watch role play videos. Again, this is a very brief overview. We don't get too personal at first. And we go through that in peers, what that means exactly. So if someone doesn't want to talk about a certain topic, we don't go there. So we don't have to talk about anything about someone's personal life. So the things they like doing, what you do on the weekend, they're all great topics when you first meet someone. We don't brag. We might be really good at maths. We might be really good at soccer. We might be really good at Minecraft. It's okay to be good at something. It's okay to say you're good at something. But in the role play videos we're watching that lesson, we get to see it. Bragging is when we go on and on about it and everyone else is rolling their eyes and moving away. We don't police. And this is a really common social error we know through research. And that's correcting people. That's not how you say that. That grammar's not correct. That's not how you do that. And teens don't like to be corrected by each other. We avoid those risky topics, politics, religion, sex and money. They are for way down the track when we're closer friends. When we first get to meet someone, they're dangerous. We can upset people without meaning to. We also do a bit of work around don't be brutally honest. That's tough, right? Because we want to be honest. What does brutally honest mean? And brutally honest means we're so honest that we actually might be affecting and hurting someone's feelings. We do a bit of work to understand the difference between honest and brutally honest. And we don't interrupt. That means we let that person finish. No matter how excited we are, we get used to waiting till that person's finished to say. There's some do's and don'ts. And the last step to mastering engaging conversations is knowing how to successfully exit a conversation. And sometimes people say, well, that's easy. When you finish talking, you just walk away, okay? But there's actually some steps you can take so that the people that you've been talking to aren't looking after you going, what happened to her? How come she just walked away? There's things we say to smoothly exit a conversation. Also, if you've ever been caught at a party or something and someone's talking to you and you're like, they're not stopping and I want to leave. And how do I leave without seeming rude? Do I just walk away? We teach you what you can say so you can exit from those situations. So we spend a whole lesson on exiting conversations in different scenarios. So there's exiting when you tried to enter and they ignored you. There's one way. If they talk to you at first and then they kind of shifted the conversation away from you, and then this is how you exit then. And this example here is how you exit. Sharing the conversation's gone well, they've accepted you, they're chatting to you, you've got all the signs it's gone well. You just literally kind of need to go now. You wait for a pause, you give a cover story for leaving, and a cover story is a reason. So it might be, anyway, I've loved talking to you, but it's getting late, I'm going to get going. Or I've got to go, my best friend's just arrived and I've been meaning to talk to her. I've got to go, dinner's ready. You just give a reason. So a pause, a reason, then see you later, goodbye, and walk away. And we spend a whole lot of work, time in peers talking about cover stories. The cover stories really save us. They get us off phone calls, they get us out of dates we don't want to be in anymore, and they get us out of conversations we don't want to be in anymore. Here's a success tip though. Parental and social coach involvement is really key. For the older young adults, not so much, but for the teenagers, parental involvement is really important. So I just want to introduce you to a few people who've done peers with me, and all my Google reviews are on my website and they're on my Google business page as well. I'm happy to say 100% 5-star reviews so far, yay. So Michelle, that was her review. The course was exceptional. Her daughter learned a lot and has grown in her confidence. She said they had a few giggles at home themselves around some of the social faux pas they were doing without realising, the parents. We had a lot of fun in the parent session, I would say. Nice and school-based program, so yeah, Michelle loved it. Belinda, her daughter did peers with me as well. So yeah, her daughter came out of her shell with my gentle, positive and wonderful coaching, and she recommends our program. Hannah, she wrote me a Facebook review and a Google review. Yeah, so her son did really well on peers as well. And Caleb wrote a review only 2 weeks in. Rhiannon, yeah, her son did really well as well. His confidence in making friends. And Cindy is a special education educator and she really loved doing peers. So all my reviews are on my website. So yeah, you're welcome to have a look at that. I'll just round out with the 3 essential keys to successful social skills training. So it needs to be evidence-based. We need to know it works. This isn't just something that one person thought, this might be a good idea, let's just go kind of put it out there. We want proof it works. I would if I was signing my child up. So I'll zip through this quickly. Again, there's links to all the research on my website, and there's been a lot of research done on this program. So it was put together at UCLA in 2004, so it's actually 20 years old, though they've tweaked it and improved it quite a lot since then, by Dr. Elizabeth Laurgerson. So yeah, she's the Associate Clinical Professor and Program Director at UCLA. It's now been used in over 150 countries, and there's been a lot of research done on it. So I'm just going to touch on some of the research very briefly. If you're a research person, and I know some people are, again, you can read all these published papers. The links are on my website. So a meta-analysis means when they take a whole lot of existing research and they kind of do a research on all those different research. So it's like an overview. That's a meta-analysis. So this meta-analysis was done in 2021. And a whole lot of research done on peers. This is a very complex slide, but basically it means they started with 1,386 articles. They screened and worked out which ones they thought qualified and which ones didn't. And they ended up with 12 set research projects that they then did a meta-analysis on. So basically what they found in that meta-analysis was that SSIS is an international social skills standard. So as you can see, the control group was next to 0, that overall social skills knowledge, and after peers was up around 12. Frequency of get-togethers, the control, so before peers, usually it's very little or 0. That means how often teens or young people are having get-togethers with other people. And after peers, it averages around 4 to 5 get-togethers a month, and that's definitely what I see in the young people I work with. There's research done on telehealth delivery. So what we know through telehealth, which means doing it virtually, which is how I deliver peers, it works as well, if not better. And there's actually a lot of reasons for that around taking in the lesson, participating, less distractions and that kind of thing. So this is the research on telehealth delivery. So social skills, pre the standard score was 80 and post, so below average, and post it's up in that average level. Get-togethers, again, before, 0 to 2, after up around 7 or 8 a month. General social skills, so telehealth versus in-person. So you can see that the telehealth is that blue line and the yellow one is in-person. So it's very much on par, very similar results from doing it online versus in-person. And they also did some long-term follow-up studies. So that they did some research on peers participants 5 years after they finished peers. So T1 is pre-peers, T2 is straight after, and T3 is up to a 5-year follow-up study. So on social skills measures, so T1, obviously they had a decreased level before they did peers. By T2, they were in the average range. And this is what's interesting. By 5 years later, it doesn't stay the same or drop away. It increases on every measure. And this is put down to parental involvement. So, and I've seen this with my son. He's 3 years post-peers now, and he is more confident now than he was 3 years ago. He's trying new things, making new friends, getting more confident. So you kind of spiral up. As you get more confident, you try more things and life just keeps getting better. And the research tells us that. So problem behaviours decline. So before peers, it was up near the elevated range. It drops down straight after peers, and it drops down again 5 years later. On other measurements of cooperation, assertiveness, empathy, self-control, internalising and externalising behaviours, they all keep improving at the 5-year mark. So we know it works. There's a lot of research. That's a very brief overview. Again, you can read the research if you're interested in it. There's a whole lot of papers on that. We know it works, no question. The second thing that makes successful social skills training is that we use concrete behaviour and skills. So our teaching methods are based on how we know people with ASD learn. Okay, this is how we do it in peers. We have small class format, 6 to 10 students, very structured lessons using the rules and steps, like some of the examples I've given you tonight. We do role playing and modelling. We watch those role play videos and we chat about what we've seen, getting those perspective, taking questions, helping with that social cognition, what's it like for the other person. We practice in the group the new skills. In the first 6 weeks, the teens or young adults make a phone call to someone else in the group to practice their social skills with someone else who's learning the same things they are. We have lots of social coaching and feedback in the sessions. Then there's homework each week, which some people don't like the use of homework. It's practicing, really. So it's practicing starting a conversation. So mum and dad or sister or someone in the household, pretend they don't know you. Start a conversation with them. Have some family members in a conversation. You've got to try and smoothly enter. Lots of practicing. and lots of social coaching by the parents. So I teach parents how to be a social coach. So they're giving lots of social coaching feedback. And what I always say to the families I work with is, I'm only with your young person for 90 minutes a week. You're with them all week. So lots of learning and teaching opportunities there. So here's some other examples of some of the role play videos that we'll see using peers. And this one's around don't police.
Hey Allison, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, it's actually I'm doing well, because good is an adjective and well is an adverb, and in this case you're supposed to use the adverb, so it's I'm doing well.
Oh, okay. I'm doing well.
Yeah, well, it's just for you. So how was your weekend?
Fine.
What'd you do?
Just hung out with friends.
So we'd ask the question, so what was that like for Jordan? Jordan's the one in the black dress on the left. Not much fun, was it? What'd you think of Alina? Bit bossy, bit, might have been a bit embarrassed because she corrected her. Well, she didn't really need to do that. Would she want to talk to Alina again? Probably not. So that's an example of a role play video that we would watch, and we'd have a chat about what went wrong there. This next one's a dating one. So this is in the young adult program. This is how not to ask someone if they're dating someone else.
Hey, are you dating anybody?
Excuse me?
I just wanted to know if you're seeing anyone.
I don't know.
Like, do you have a boyfriend right now or no?
Yeah, I guess I am dating someone.
Oh.
Okay, so what was that like for Alina? I felt a bit, invaded. He wasn't really taking no for an answer. Seemed a bit out of the blue that he was asking her, what do you think of Gabe? Not very nice. Would you want to talk to Gabe again? Probably not. So in the young adult program, we teach how to ask these questions, how to ask someone on a date so it's a smoother entry. So this is a good example of how you'd ask them if they're dating anyone.
Hey, Alina, how are you?
Hey Gabe, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. How was your weekend?
It was great.
Did you end up going to that concert you were telling me about?
Yeah, I did.
Well, how was it?
It was so much fun. We had a great time.
Oh, yeah? Did you go with a boyfriend or just some friends?
Oh, I just went with some friends. I don't have a boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. I just thought I'd ask because a lot of my friends brought their girlfriends.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, how did it sound?
It was so great. The band was awesome.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So that's an example of how we would trade information first, get to know the person. That's the steps of asking someone if they're dating anyone. Much smoother, much more successful. That's just a couple of examples there. So that's the concrete behaviour and skills. And of course, parents are included in the treatment, and that's the third part of successful social skills training, so they can practice at home in another setting. So it's no good, just learning a social skill in a one-on-one session with a psychologist or a speechie, and then parents don't know what they've learned. You don't get to practice it at home or with your friends or with family. So you don't know how to do it in other settings. So in our peers programs, parents come along to a 90-minute small group session separately to their teen or young adult. They're taught how to become a social coach. So I give an overview of what their young person's learning this week, how they can practice with them at home, how to coach them and put what they're practicing using into practice in real life, and how to give them really constructive feedback. So parents learn how to do that. So what we're teaching peers are friendship and romantic skills, finding and choosing friends and romantic partners, conversation skills, we've touched on that tonight, starting and entering, exiting, electronic communication. Everyone's communicating online these days. How do you do that well? It's very easy to get it wrong. Appropriate use of humour, how to host get-togethers, how to plan it, host it, follow up after. With the young adult program, we look at how to letting someone know you like them, asking someone on a date, organising and planning dates, dating do's and don'ts. So that's the friendship and romantic skills. And then we also do conflict and rejection skills. So for the adults, we talk for dating, how to take no for an answer. So what do you do if someone says no to you? And how to take, if you ask them and they say no, sorry, and also how to turn someone down, how to handle unwanted sexual pressure on a date. We look at, in both groups, how to handle arguments and disagreements. We look at how to change your reputation, We look at how to handle bullying, so teasing and embarrassing feedback and physical bullying, and cyberbullying and rumours and gossip. So we cover out, there's a lot of content. So the 16-week program, it's 90-minute weekly sessions. The peers program costs $2,640 for the full 16 weeks. That's intake interviews, that's 16 90-minute parent sessions, 16 90-minute adolescent and young adult sessions. There's handouts every week. There's a peers app. We've got all the videos on there and all the lessons, so you can keep accessing that outside of the sessions. There's incentive prizes in the teen groups every week. So there's an incentive prize given out every week for participation. We know that it really helps teens want to participate. And all the support throughout the 16-week program. So that works out to $165 a week for both 90-minute sessions. And you can claim it on the NDIS if you have a plan in place. So the adolescent program, we have intakes February and August each year. And we are taking enrolments now for our August program. And same with the young adult. We have intakes in February and August this year, and we're currently taking enrolments for our August program. We also have an over 30s workshop, and that's just a one-day workshop that's 9 till 4. We look at how to develop and maintain friendships, finding sources of friends, to do all the conversation skills, how to get someone's contact details, entering and exiting group conversations, get-togethers, all that kind of thing in the adult program. That's a one-dayer. It's coming up on the 22nd of November. And that one is $550 for the full day. And you can have an accompanying person attend for free as well if you need that. You get all the course notes, all the role play videos and everything to practice afterwards as well. We've also got coming up a dating boot camp, and that's for teens and young adults, and parents can participate as well. That's a weekend workshop. So it's 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. We cover a lot in this program. So conversation skills, letting someone know you like them, flirting, online dating, asking someone on dates, following up after dates, all that kind of thing. That's coming up 3rd and 4th of August, 9 till 3 on both days. And again, a parent can participate for free. And again, you get all the notes and all the role play videos and everything for that one. And that's $869 for the weekend. We also have a free gift. So for everyone who's attending this masterclass today, and we've gone 7:53, pretty good for time. If you enroll in any of these programs and pay within the next 7 days, a $50 Prezi gift card will come to you. So our taking enrolments now for our dating boot camp, the adolescent and young adult program starting in August, and our over 30s workshop. So contact me if you'd like to enrol. Our groups do fill up well ahead of time. So if you just want to drop an answer in the chat. Yes, if you'd like me to contact you and send you some more information or an enrolment pack, or no, if this program's not for you, thanks for the information, it's definitely not for me, or I'm just not ready at this time, and then I'll know not to follow you up after this. Now I will open for questions. Now, Raimi, I'll go to you first. Do you have a question?
Several questions. Firstly, could I participate in the social coaching and could I do both the parenting one and the training one?
Well, it's sort of the same thing. So you really wouldn't do both. But if you thought it would be helpful, because I know that you might not have a social coach, the same coach every week. What I could do is I will send you the social coaching handouts, which got all the coaching tips. And then whoever's helping you that week, that's a roommate or a friend or whatever, they could help you. But it wouldn't be worth you sitting through the same thing for 90 minutes twice every week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
I'll just stop sharing.
because I want to I also want to learn how to teach these skills, because one day I want to work in headspace, and
so you'll get a lot out of it being the participant for sure. By the end of 16 weeks, you'll have a pretty good feel for it.
Okay. So with common interests, I'm just wondering, I think for me, a common assumption is it's 50-50, this person is as interested in this in this concept as I am. What if it's like, say, I'm only like mildly interested in the topic and they are very interested? Does that
That's a
still
really
count as
good
common
question.
interest?
Yeah, that's a great question. So look, it's really just a case of, is it something you connect over? So let's just say, I love fishing. I live and breathe it. I go every weekend. It's what I do. I've got a boat. I talk about nothing but fishing. And for you, it's like, I go a few times a year. Like, I don't love it. We can still talk about it though. You know, that's a common interest as far as to be able to keep a conversation going. Because you might say, oh, what kind of boat have you got? And I might answer if I knew anything about boats. And, you know, that might be, you know, that's enough to have a common interest just for a conversation to be going. So you don't have to be, you know, if I live and breathe fishing and it's my big interest, it doesn't have to be that big an interest for you. But if you said, I hate fishing, I have never been in my life and I'm never going, no interest in it, you wouldn't say that. But that wouldn't be a common interest then. But even if you just knew a little bit about it, it's probably enough to have a conversation, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be equal. It's a good question. You don't have to have equal interest. It just means that you know enough about it to show interest in a conversation. Yeah.
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 Sorry, can I just ask one more question?
Okay.
Yeah, just about like things like vulnerability and like, say, like sharing positive aspects about yourself. Like how do you do that? How do you share positive aspects of yourself about yourself without coming across as bragging? Because like I was just thinking like you know like I was learning recently, like, you know, being vulnerable is okay if, like, say you're doing it with like the intention of, like, say helping the other person, say like
Yeah.
helping them not feel so alone. So maybe like
Yes.
sharing positive aspects of yourself
Yeah.
is good if say it's like inspiring to the other person. Like,
Yeah, so that's another great question for sure. So, I mean, we talk about don't brag. It's a kind of a fine line. I always say, talk about something you're good at. Don't hide your light under a bushel. But it's really about don't overdo it. You know, so you can say, if someone says, I like fishing, you can go, wow, I won the National Fishing Championships last year. And I go, really? But it doesn't mean you have to keep talking about how good you are at it. You know, you can, it's about, you know, you can say I'm pretty good at it. I've actually, you know, that's okay. But you wouldn't keep going on and on and on and on and how good you are at it, because that's not fun for the other person. You know, so you could touch, you know, it's just, again, it's you could connect over that, but then you throw it back to them and say, what about you? Have you ever entered any fishing competitions? Or, you know, you could just sort of, you know, it's okay to be good at something. It's okay to be proud that you're good at something. But if it dominates every conversation, it's not going to be fun for the other person.
yeah, true.
And when we do that lesson, it definitely gets clear the difference between being proud of yourself and bragging, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rami.
Thank you.
I've just got some questions in the chat I saw pop up. Let me have a look here. Yeah, Maria, I did try to make you co-host. Maria's something in the chat there. Would make you co-host. Okay. If one of the Zoom days missed, yes. Okay. Great question. If you miss one. Yeah, look, it's really common for an adolescent to miss a lesson, like they're on a school camp, you know, get sick, go on holidays. What I always say is if you miss a session, you know, here and there, that's actually not uncommon. Because we do a recap at the start of the next lesson, because at the start of each lesson, we talk about the homework. So, you know, how did you go? We give an overview. Handouts come out to the adolescent with an overview of the lesson. And you get access to all the role play videos, and the parent still gets their coaching handout for the week. You'll easily catch up. What I say is, though, if you're going to miss the first three, like lesson 1, 2, and 3, because you know you're going to be away, I would say wait and join next February next year, because that's going to be hard to catch up. We do a lot of connecting with each other in the first few weeks, but you can miss a lesson here or there. Honestly, you'll totally catch up. The lessons aren't recorded. That's another good question as well, and that's because of IP laws for UCLA, and also just to protect everyone's confidentiality. So nothing's recorded. This is being recorded right now. I should mention that because it's going to get sent out to anyone who registered but couldn't come. I had a few people say they couldn't come. But when we're actually running the peers program, nothing is recorded, not the parent sessions, not the teen sessions. People are practicing, and we want people to know it's not going to turn up on YouTube somewhere or something, because they, you know, fluffed it up or something. And parents, in the parent only session, parents get quite candid and, you know, everyone's sharing pretty honestly. So nothing's recorded, but you can definitely catch up if you missed a lesson or two. That's a great question. Do I have a payment plan? I do. So if you wanted to subscribe to a program that's coming up a ways away, you can pay it off as we go. But we do require payment, you know, before the program starts. And that's because we want everyone, we only have a maximum of 10 in each group. We really want that. We do a lot of work in enrollment interviews and that kind of thing to make sure everyone knows what they're signing up for. Because once that group starts, it's quite a cohesive group and everyone's making phone calls to each other and getting to know each other. So we really want to make sure that group starts together and, you know, hopefully goes and graduates together. So we don't want someone to say halfway through, actually, I can't afford it anymore and I have to drop out. So, you know, we do require payment up front, but you can start the payments earlier. So, you know, for example, with the August program starting, I've got some families who've been paying it off for the last few months. Another good question. Yeah, that's right. Pay it off before the course starts. Yeah, exactly. Okay, is that all the questions? Anyone else got any other questions while we're here? Oh, I'm almost on time. It's only 8:01. Another question. Okay. A good 2 years ago. Oh, yes. Hello. Jackson. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So you're thinking of doing it again, Beck? Because Jackson's mum. Yeah, you can do it again if you want to. Yeah. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Good. Yeah, you can certainly do it again if you want to. It's been a couple of years. I thought Jackson was doing really well though. So anyway, we can have a chat separately about that. But yeah, you can do it again if you want to, in answer to the question. Yeah. So
and the other, I didn't notice you had it last time, but there looks like there's a bunch of different social group courses that you have.
Yeah, that's right. So we do have the boot camps. So we've got the dating one coming up in August. And mid-year, we do a conversation skills one and a friendship one. So if he didn't want to do the whole 16 weeks, I imagine he probably wouldn't need to, he could just do the boot camp and they'll be happening sort of mid-year next year. So that's something else to consider. But we can have a chat back offline and see what might be best for Jackson. Yeah. Awesome. Good to hear from you. Anyone else have any questions while we're here? I'm happy to hang around. There we go. Another question. Okay, bullyproofing bootcamp versus the lesson course. Good question. So the bullyproofing bootcamp is the bullyproofing content of the 16-week program, just delivered over one weekend. So you wouldn't do both. If you're going to look at basically what we do, we have the 16-week adolescent program. We do conversation skills, we do friendship skills, choosing good friends, navigating disagreements with friends, and we do bullying. That's kind of the 16 weeks. For some people, committing to a weekend a 16 weeks is a lot. They've got sport and they're going away for a family holiday. So some people just prefer to do it in a concentrated weekend format. The bullyproofing week, probably not going to go ahead this weekend. We just didn't get the numbers for this weekend, Mel. Yeah, so I will get back to you on that. So yeah, we're just not getting the numbers for the bullyproofing. I think people are just preferring to come into the 16-week program. So yeah, I'll go back to you on that. Any other questions about anything we've covered today? Oh, everyone's pretty quiet. Okay, well, if no one's got any more questions.
Sorry,
yes. Yeah, Remy.
I liked your analogy before. You described like learning social norms and social etiquette and all that for people on the spectrum as like learning French.
Yeah.
And like you kind of like, and so it's not about like teaching masking. Well, it's about giving people on the spectrum the ability to mask or to not mask when they want to, or something like that. Like just as
it's about learning some skills that you can use. You know what to do, and you can use it or you don't use it. Like I see my son at home; he's himself. He's just himself. But when people come over now, I can see we'll sit at the dinner and he'll say, "Oh, so how's your day been?" And I just see him being this conversationalist, which he definitely wasn't before. He knows, it goes for a job interview or something like that. He knows what to do to keep a conversation going, but he doesn't feel he has to do it all the time. It's a choice. It's a choice. But before he'd done peers, he didn't have the choice because he didn't know how to do it. So he was So and with that analogy, like I say, it's not about removing who you are. So if you learn French, doesn't mean you have to relinquish your Australian nationality and become all French. It just means you've learned how to talk to French people. And that's the analogy that I think of, is that once I teach you how the neurotypical world works in social skills, do it or don't do it. You can keep telling that rude joke if you want, but if you're noticing that it's pushing people away, it's a choice. But if you don't know that's what's pushing people away, you're going to live life being baffled why making friends is hard for you. But once you know, you can keep policing people, you can keep being loud, you can keep interrupting. But if you know that that's pushing people away, then you can make a choice. It's very empowering.
It's like giving people a choice, whereas before they had
They just didn't know.
They felt like they had no choice.
It's right.
It's very empowering.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I love it too. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. If you haven't got any other questions, we'll sign off. I know everyone's busy. So have a look on your email. There is that workbook coming out. And Mel, I'll be in touch with you tomorrow. And we'll work out. We've got a plan. Don't worry. And it was lovely to see you all. And I'll be in touch. Or you can get in touch with me. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.